Well, hello there, Happy Innovators. How you been, huh? Long time no podcast. But I return, as always, to deliver unto you another Singularity Podcast. And I won't even bother wasting my time explaining what I've been doing over the past month. Just suffice it to say that I've been very, very busy making new music. And there was a week or so, maybe about a week, where I was kind of under the weather. And, while it's possible to, put out a podcast very quickly, even if you don't feel good, it's usually better to avoid that and just wait till you recover and take a swing at another podcast. So I waited until I felt better, which is today. And actually, I did try to do a podcast a couple weeks ago, or about a week ago, and I didn't like it. It didn't come out good, so I just scrapped it and decided I would sit down tonight, because it's nighttime right now as I'm talking, and just kind of give you a little bit of information, kind of talk to you a little bit, kind of update you on things, and just kind of give you something to listen to while you're working or doing whatever you're doing. Crazy times, every podcast that I've listened to, or every, video or something where there's somebody talking, it always starts out with, "These are strange times, aren't they, folks?" I mean, it's just the weirdest time. Like, is the world actually getting crazier? Is that possible? Is that happening? Is the world becoming a crazier place? Are people getting weirder? It seems like that's the case, but man, I'll tell you what, it's not just the people that are weird. It's like the events, the things that are happening. Like, there was this explosion in Beirut a couple days ago, maybe a few days ago now. Not exactly sure what day it was, but it was shocking. I mean, it was shocking. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but it's like, oh my gosh, it might not have been a nuclear bomb, but it looked like one. It looked like a mushroom cloud, like a nuclear explosion. And I know there are people that are like, oh, if it was a nuclear explosion, more people would have died. Well, I don't know. I'm not a nuclear expert. I just know what I see on TV. Like, I see it. And I've seen enough explosions, nuclear bomb tests to know the signature, mushroom cloud and that ring, around the top of the thing. And this happened like right in the city. And I don't know. As soon as I saw it, I couldn't believe my eyes. Like, it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I've never seen anything like that in recent times, or like in my lifetime. I saw old footage that was filmed, before I was born, but I never saw an explosion like that, in full color, in living color, and like in a city. It was just absolutely insane. And, it kind of is a scary thing to think about when you see it like that, because it's like, with all this BS that's going on right now all over the world, it's like, is that what's coming next? Is like as much anxiety as people are feeling with COVID and all that stuff, and the rioting and looting and all that stuff. Like, is this next? They're going to be like explosions, bombs. Like, go get the hell out of here, So the question was, like, is the world getting crazier? I don't know. Maybe. But, it's just such a strange time. There's no other way to describe it, right? I mean, it's just every day it seems like there's a new thing, I don't know. I don't want to be like a negative Nelly or anything like that, but I don't know. It's just crazy. You have this whole idea, too, of like cancel culture, right? It's like that's something that's been on my mind. I've been watching it happen over and over again over the past couple of years, but it's really becoming like a thing, where somebody says like the wrong thing or whatever, so like their life is destroyed, because they uttered the wrong sentence or something. It's like, it's so odd when you really think about it. Like, that's so sad. It's to the point now where people that are like professional, speakers or comedians or actors or musicians or anybody really who speaks in public, maybe politicians, more than anyone else really, if they say the wrong thing, they're done. And it's like they're afraid to talk. Like, people are afraid to talk now. Can you imagine? We live in a time where people are self-censoring. Like, they're afraid to speak their mind because it'll end their career. And that's like a realistic idea. It's not some kind of paranoid, delusion or something. It's like that really does happen, and it's so shameful. It's out of control. Like, it seems to me, okay, like our will, like as a society or like as a culture, especially here in America, but I don't know, maybe it's the same all over the world right now. But it's like, it seems to me that our will towards each other is so bad right now that it's like, you have to kind of wonder if we ever had goodwill towards each other. It's like so strange. Like, when someone's career is being taken down or when their life is being destroyed for something they said or something they did, it doesn't matter who it is. It could be a politician, it could be an actor, it could be anybody. We're watching their life get destroyed, and you watch the talking heads, commenting on what's going on, and they're kind of like giving their conjecture and their opinion, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a bunch of BS. It's like when I watch the news, I just want the news, okay? You don't have to tell me what to think about it, right? Anyway, I digress. My point is that it's so strange because when we're watching somebody's life be, systematically destroyed because of something they said or did, there's this group of people that kind of like laugh about it, like they're gloating over the fact that someone's life is being torn to shreds. And it just drives me crazy to watch it. It's like, it's almost confusing. Like, it's such an evil attitude, to be in a situation where you're watching someone's life get torn apart and you're laughing at them. You're laughing. It's like, you want to know something? Here's the bottom line. That kind of thing, when someone's life is being ruined, that's not a comedy. That's a tragedy. It's like, why are you laughing? Like, what's the matter with you? Are you out of your mind? Like, you don't laugh when someone's life is being ruined, even if they're your enemy. It's like, and especially if it's like a politician or, an actor or somebody that we admire, the general public admires, like, why are you laughing at their life being destroyed? Like with a politician, it's like, when you're watching a politician like go down in scandal or like in flames, it's not a reason to be laughing. It's not like cause for celebration. That's a tragedy, not a comedy. It's horrible. It means that they were put in a position of power to do a job like on behalf of all of us, and they failed at it. Like, that's tragic. That's not good. Like, it means that the job didn't get done, ultimately. That's what it means. So, like, why would you be standing there gloating at the demise of, like, a politician you don't like or something? That's, like, absolutely ridiculous. And it kind of makes me think about this, too. It's like, aren't we all, like, before we're, like, Democrats or Republicans or independents or communists or whatever, aren't we like citizens of this country first? Like, shouldn't there be like an underlying base of like respect, unspoken respect that we have for each other? as citizens of the same country, and then we are Democrats or Republicans and we disagree or whatever. But shouldn't there be like a baseline of respect for everybody, as part of this great experiment from the framers of the Constitution? Because that's what the framers intended America to be. When the framers were drawing up the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and all that kind of stuff, the idea they had in their mind was that America would be the first nation in the history of the world that would always be in a state of becoming, like a state of change. There would never be a final version of America. And that's a fact, They, of course, were kind of shooting for some, I don't know, like utopian idea, which to some degree would be considered like impossible, but they were like shooting for that. And that's what they were aiming for. So, the idea in America is that we're all part of this experiment and it will go on forever, That's why I don't understand when there's like a group of people that have a certain political affiliation or, whatever, even if it's fringe, especially if it's fringe, it's like they want okay, this is my belief anyway, okay? So you don't have to agree with me, but, when there are two groups of people with opposing opinions, or maybe even more than two, there could be several, that are arguing with each other for political power, like they're trying to climb over each other, they don't want equality. Like that's almost like never the desired outcome. What they want is total control. I mean, that's what they want. It's a power grab, So it's like, but what I don't understand is like, we live in America. Like, you're allowed to think whatever you want to think. Well, okay. You used to be allowed to think whatever you want to think, but the idea is that we're supposed to be allowed to think and believe what we want to believe, and if you are outnumbered, if you're part of the minority, we live in a country where it's still okay for you to believe what you want, and you can go to some part of the country, and you can carve out like your own little community, and you can start gathering people, and you can have a little area where they all exist the way that you believe they should exist. Now, granted, they still have to follow the law, and there's things that they have to follow, but, when a group like that wants to like take over, like they want to decide for everyone else that like we all have to think the way that they do, come on. What are you, crazy? This is America. Like, I'm going to believe what I'm going to believe, and you're going to believe what you're going to believe, and that's fine. I don't care. I would die to defend your right to believe what you want to believe. I would lay my life down for that. That's how much I value that idea, because it's a great idea. Like, just leave everybody alone. Like, just do your thing and, leave everybody else alone. Like, if I have a belief or a desire, like how I think the world should be, it doesn't mean I have the right to, force people to feel and think the way I feel. It doesn't work that way, It's part of the reason why there's so much chaos right now, I think, because people are just not willing, for the most part, to have any kind of fellowship at all with their enemies. Not at all. No empathy or anything. And it's so weird. I just wonder if our will towards each other is just so bad now. And is that like a new thing? Is it new? Because I seem to remember a time when I was younger. I mean, I knew a handful of adults that were really wholesome, generous people. Like, they really did care about their neighbor, and when somebody was in trouble in their community, people would rally around them and they would stick together and they would help them out. I'm sure you probably remember that too. So maybe this whole, selfish, unsympathetic, unempathetic attitude is a new thing. And if that's the case, if that's a new thing, then man, we probably need to wake the hell up and check ourselves and, get back to that thing, maybe, that we've lost, right? I mean, it's so strange. And it starts with people's ability to speak and talk openly. I think that's why the framers were so adamant about free speech, because in order to have a strong community with the better idea, you have to have open dialogue. And we live in a time where that's being suppressed. There's no question about it, And thank God, Congress is starting to call organizations like Facebook and Google and these really powerful companies that have so much impact on our social interactions, our politics and everything. They're calling those guys in and they're questioning them, on the grounds of antitrust violations. And, we live in a time, I don't know if you realize it or not, but what we're watching happening right now with those antitrust hearings is actually history in the making. We're pretty fortunate to be alive right now to watch that happen, to watch the government do something that it's really supposed to do, which is break up monopolies and, hold those extremely powerful people, those CEOs of those massive companies, holding their feet to the fire and making them answer for what they're doing, and probably ultimately breaking them up, and allowing other people who want to be in those industries the opportunity to succeed. I mean, I find it so strange that, ultimately what wound up happening, I guess, with Facebook and Google and Amazon.com, it's these companies are so huge. Ultimately, what they wound up doing in the end was trying to control, society. That's what they're trying to do, right? I mean, that's ultimately what they're being accused of anyway, is, manipulating social interactions, and limiting the amount of information that we get. So thank God those antitrust provisions were put in, and they actually can, call those people in front of Congress and make them answer for what they're doing. If that didn't exist, we would be screwed, But here we are, we live in this time, and it was only a matter of time, I think. It was only a matter of time. I mean, you have, Joe Rogan, that whole situation with Joe Rogan leaving YouTube for Spotify. It may not seem like a really big deal right now, but trust me, folks, it's huge. It's massive. I mean, the Joe Rogan podcast is so widespread and so successful and so well done, even though I don't always agree with what he's talking about, especially lately. I get kind of turned off. But it's still done well, and he's obviously at this point the king of the podcast, and and he should be, because he's been doing it forever. I mean, he was doing it long before anybody ever knew who he was or anything. I mean, he has earned his place as the king of the podcast. But wow, what a story that he's actually leaving. He's choosing to separate himself from YouTube. Not entirely. He'll still be available to people who want to watch him there, but for the most part, he signed this deal with Spotify. And I kind of knew that was eventually going to happen. That, as soon as YouTube started to kind of censor people and there were issues with that kind of stuff, I was talking about it years ago in my podcast. You can go back and listen where I talk about it. It's once you start doing that, it's only a matter of time before somebody comes along that doesn't censor people or won't censor people or allows the open exchange of ideas, they will come along and start a platform that will eclipse what you're doing, and people will jump ship. There are so many people, there's video after video of it, of these dissatisfied or content creators that were burned by YouTube. Just their lives were ruined, or even by Amazon.com. And here we are. We're at the beginning of what I would say would be like a renaissance, okay, in social media. We're watching the second wave. The first wave of the renaissance of social media was, the introduction of social media. But this second wave will be, and we will watch it happen. I predict we will watch it happen. It may happen sooner than later too. We will see the breakdown of these major platforms, and we'll see these smaller or maybe sometimes even bigger platforms come along and eclipse what they're doing and take over the market. And really, when you think about it, when you talk about capitalism anyway, that's really kind of like how it's supposed to work, right? Like survival of the fittest, I guess, right? This Darwinian attitude towards, commerce, Oh, strange times. So much weirdness. Oh, and the weather in China. Did you see that? What's going on in China right now with the weather? It's crazy. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on there, but I've heard tales told of, weaponized weather. And man, if there was ever a situation like that, I don't know. I think we're seeing it happen. I know I sound like a tinfoil hat wearing crazy, but watch the footage. It's insane what's going on. The whole world right now is going insane, but it's like, it's kind of like all of it seems to be happening far away. It's like when you're in school, and there's that student in your class that just is a knucklehead who's just never doing what he's supposed to be doing, and is always getting in trouble, but the class still goes on, and the tests are still taken, everything goes on as normal, but it's always interrupted or whatever by this one guy in the corner who's not doing what he's supposed to be doing, right? That's kind of what it feels like. It's like sometimes it's surreal. Like, is it actually really happening? Are we watching it really happen? Or is it like, what is this? Like, what are we seeing? But I do think, we are in for things getting even a little bit stranger than they are right now. I would predict it'll happen in November, right around the elections. Wow, we're gonna see some amazing craziness happening. If you think it's bad now, brace yourself. But the good news is that I do think that eventually things will simmer down. It might take a little while, but eventually I think that will happen. Mostly because I think that for the most part, at least from the people that I talk to, I get the very clear message that they're getting really tired of this stuff. That life is hard enough already, and they want the BS to stop. And I do think that will eventually happen. It might take a little while, but hold on, folks. Everything is gonna be fine eventually. And that's just my opinion, but I really do believe that. I really do feel that way. So I can't talk much longer today. I'm going to cut it off here. I know this is a rather short Singularity podcast, but I did really want to give you guys something, seeing as it's been so long since I've released anything. And there will be some new music coming very soon. Maybe some other things, some other surprises. So stay tuned. And until next time, folks, remember this. If you want to keep what you've got to give it away. Take it easy, everybody. Hang in there. All right, Happies. I got some music for you, for all those that were brave enough to stick around to the end of the podcast. I got a song for you this time. It's a song called Time to Climb. I wrote it back in probably 2010, recorded it at the same time, and it's kind of a slightly more optimistic kind of theme for a song. I actually wrote it for my wife when she was finishing her graduate degree. I really felt that she really was kind of completing a very difficult phase of her career, and that from that point forward she would be on the up. And I was right, and the song was written for her at that time. Encouraging her and kind of expressing how proud I was of her. But, even though the song was written for my wife, it can be applied to anybody. You can take this song into your own life and apply it to yourself, because we all need a little bit of optimism, right? We need to kind of be looking to the future and hoping for better things and working towards better things. So without further ado, from the PC1 Wilderness album, this is the song Time to Climb. Peace out, everybody.
They shifted your scene in all of your dreams and every